That was the motivation behind it, because if you remember in 1890, that was when folks like LQC Lamar, folks that they tried to teach you to be heroes, even John Kennedy made a mistake and said he was a profile in courage because he spoke at some senator's funeral. Let me break down Lamar before I get back to this subject. There was a black man. I represented Clinton. I was the first black man to represent Clinton since 1877 that lived in the city. There was a black man named Charles Caldwell, who was a bad brother. He was bad. This brother was not only a state representative, but he was in charge of the regiment, the Union Army Regiment in Clinton. So he was a target because he had power. LQC Lamar was part of a group. Now, unfortunately, he was a Democrat, unfortunately for me. But history is history, right? And Caldwell was a Republican, because back then we were Republicans and the other folks were Democrats. That's the way it worked. So LQC Lamar was a leader of a group called the Insurrectionists. Now, you've heard that term. George Bush has said that about the Al-Qaeda folks, the terrorists. LQC Lamar was the leader of a group called the Insurrectionists in Mississippi. And Caldwell was public enemy #1 to them. So what they did was on Christmas Day, y'all, somebody out of that group, following the orders, invited him to the tavern on Main Street in Clinton. And Mr. Caldwell, being a good politician, he went. The minute he walked in the front door, he got shot. The minute he tried to retreat, he got shot. The only time they took a break from shooting was when his preacher showed up. Asked for mercy. He told him, go tell my wife I ain't coming home. And let him know that a coward didn't die in Clinton today. When the preacher left, they continued to shoot him, and it's in the congressional record that they shot him so ferociously that his body actually levitated from the ground. So when, years later, I became the representative for Clinton, the first thing I told the folks was, I'm not going to any Christmas party. All right. let's get that clear. You invite me to a Christmas party in Clinton, I ain't coming. That's not happening. No. So Lamar was part of this group, and then when Reconstruction ended, they came up with all these constitutions and these new black codes and all these things that disenfranchised folks. And so that's when they came up with all of these crimes that would disenfranchise you. You would lose your rights. Well, those crimes are still on the books because we've never changed the Mississippi Constitution. And because of that, there are black men and black women. There are white men and white women that can't vote. The only way they can get their right back is a little representative like me introduces a bill with their name on it, what crime they committed, and try to get 2/3 of the legislature to vote to give them their rights back. Now, I had the privilege of serving 9 years. I got 3 folks their rights back. 1 white woman, 2 black men. And I almost didn't get the white woman because one of her victims was the attorney for the committee that handled the bill. And he said if it wasn't, because it was me, he let it slide. That's how hard it is. We get over 500 petitions a year. 12 people get their rights back. 12. There was provisions in the bill, there were in the ID bill, and there was other bills out there to allow people that if they have served their time, they don't have to go through that process. If they're a first-time offender, they get their rights back. Why is that important? If I go out and do something wrong, and I pay my debt to society, I need to get back into society so I won't do nothing wrong again. I need a job. I need a good, stable household, and I need my citizenship back. Because if you paint me as an outcast, if you paint me as an outlaw, if you paint me as somebody that doesn't belong, well, I'm just going to act like I don't belong. And since it wasn't your house this time, it may be your house now. You understand what I'm saying? This is about a self-esteem issue for people. Now, there is a group of folks that don't lose their suffrage. Those are people that are involved in drug crime. If you sold crack cocaine and you get arrested, you have not lost your right to vote because of it. Now, there are people that are trying to make it so that you do that, but we can't afford to do that in Mississippi. Because if you really want to eliminate the black vote, start taking away the suffrage from those folks that are just possessing, let alone a first-time offender selling. You would wipe out half of the black vote with one signature from a governor. Half. So we're pushing, the NAACP is pushing the opposite, is to give folks their self-esteem back. Give folks the opportunity to right their wrong. If you want them to restore themselves into society, then let them be full citizens and have their right to vote back. That's part of the restorative justice. I hope I ain't going too fast for the reporter. I see you working real hard. Now, the other issues real quick, because I know we're getting short on time, but I wanted to elaborate on those points and touch on a few others. Housing is very important. The NAACP has been a leader in the forefront of Mississippi in dealing with predatory lending. For those of you who have been very fortunate not to have experienced that, this practice started with a little company called the Associates. Anybody ever heard of that? It was a mortgage company that came with the idea that we're going to redline certain areas in inner cities and charge them different rates and devalue their property at the same time. They would get low appraisals, high mortgage rates. And they went in, but what they did was they had this idea that we're going to sell these, what they call ARMs, or adjustable rate mortgages, where they sign you up and say, well, you got 3%. Just 3. 2 years later, you're paying 15 on a 30-year mortgage. That group was actually a division of what we call the Ford Motor Company. The folks that sell you your cars were trying to take your house. And now they want the government to bail them out. Amen, somebody. Only in America. But the NAACP has been in the forefront of fighting that system and making sure that young folks understand the value of financial literacy. When I was in the legislature, we pushed for that. Young people need to know that when you sign up for that credit card in the first day of college, you might be signing your life away. Because once you get in that system and they start twisting you around on that credit score, amen, somebody, that's tough. That's tough. And they target us. They target us. And when I say us, I ain't just talking about black folk. Mississippi, when I was in college, had the highest application rate for credit cards for college students. Mississippi. So it didn't matter whether you were at Jackson State or Mississippi State, where you was all going to Ole Miss, they were getting all our kids. All of them. And it's been it's been a struggle to get some of that down. Because when you give something to somebody and you ain't trained them how to use it, have mercy. Have mercy, Lord. That's what has been happening. And now, 20 years later, you start seeing folks wondering why they're being foreclosed. Well, all of a sudden, they've been making do and now they can't afford this. They're getting laid off of jobs. We even had a financial consultant this morning tell folks, don't pay off your credit card. You know why? Because they're going to cut it off. If you pay it out, they're going to take it from you. She said it's best to just go ahead and just pay the minimum payment.